Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number 715 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Friday. Thank God I'm Fly Day. August 15th, 2025. And it is a lovely day here at the Beaver Lodge. The sky is nice and a beautiful blue here and perfect for tennis, which I do have on the menu, but later today. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and not with me as usual is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, but hopefully we will have him on Monday's show. I do have to do a pre-record because, as I mentioned yesterday, going this weekend to Toronto to celebrate my father-in-law, for all intents and purposes, technically not my father-in-law because technically my Beaver Sweetie and I are not married, but we just say father-in-law after 13 years. But it is his birthday. And since Alex is currently hiking through the mountains of Romania and having a wonderful time, my Beaver Sweetie is. And wish I could show you pictures, but I didn't transfer any from Viber where he sent them to me to any of my social media accounts myself in order to be able to share them. But the views are lovely. Hopefully I will do that on the weekend. I might be able to have some pictures for you early next week so that you can share in it and maybe decide that, since we're not traveling to the United States anymore, if you're seeking some international travel, why not Romania? You never know. Maybe it will pique your interest. But my Beaver Sweetie, is having a lovely time. And as you can see down there, I've changed my little blurb there from resident optimist to resident cuddle monster because I am now officially at the point where I am extremely cuddle deprived. And I would really need a snuggle buddy. So I cannot wait for him to get home, but he is having a lovely time and I am extremely happy for him. And I'm having a pretty good time too, I have to say, taking on some activities and uh, enjoying some things of my own and having some of my own adventures. So we'll have a lot to tell each other, even though we are talking to each other every day pretty much anyway. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Got a show for you today. I assume it will be interesting. Might be a little fly by the seat of the pants, to be totally honest, because I had difficulty putting this one together. Not that there isn't enough news, but it's such a jumble of news with points that are connecting there. It's almost like a conspiracy theory board with all the strings and all that kind of stuff, that it's kind of hard to come up with a tidy through line. So it might seem like I'm bouncing a little bit all over the place today. And that's only because of the nature of the news itself. So I will bear your indulgence. And I have a feeling that today might be a day where I start down some paths and maybe get distracted with some side stories and maybe not get back to some paths I originally started on. Uh, but yeah, it's really is. It's a mess. It's all over the place. But kids and cubs, I need to ask because I mean I've already shared a little cuddle deprived. Uh, how is your mental health today? I hope it's doing well. And if it isn't, again, like I said yesterday, hoping that some time all together with the DAMFAM will help make your day a little better and elevate your mood. Before we get into it, well, let's see who has joined us. We have Kit Sharon here that says, "Good morning, my Canadian family." And Kit Bohan and his family waving hello to the Dam Fam. We have Kit Elaine saying, "Good morning, everyone." And Kit Cassie also saying, "Good day, good people." And that's already a good start when you have those four. But let's see who else is with us. We have Kit PNC Bio wishing us all good morning and good morning to you, sir. We have Kit Cassie with us, giving us some news and says that crops are looking great this year. So I think MO is more combines rolling soon. Unfortunately, to have tariffs on pulse crops. Yes, it is unfortunate to have tariffs on pulse crops. You're right. But there is mostly wheat in our fields. So I guess some wise decisions as to planting from Kit Cassie, but it's nice to see that the crops are looking good. The tomatoes in our garden are very, very happy, but a lot of other things are not this year, given the heat. I've been doing my best, but I am not as good a gardener as Kit Cassie is a farmer. I'm sure. We have Kit Jillian saying good morning to us, and Kit Nana Carol also saying good morning. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us. Who else do we have? Oh, well, of course, Kit Linda M, the original and the best, wishing us all good morning. Kit Uncovers with us, stating that they've sent me some stuff. I did see it briefly. I don't know how much of it I'll be able to work in, but today. But yeah, Kit Uncover keeping us very much abreast of the news here. What else do we have live in the show as well as outside the show? Kid Uncovered does a lot for us, and we thank you very much. We are very, very, very grateful, and we use a lot of it. Who else do we have with us here in the chat? Going through the list, I'm seeing a lot of names that I've seen before. Maybe that's odd. No, Hyper T 007. Bon dia. Okay, I'm going to try this because there's a pronunciation. Bon dia, gente. There we go. That might be it. And by the way, Kid Hyper T, the sound file you sent me yesterday so that I could hear it, unfortunately, there was something wrong with it. It did come in, but when I pressed play, nothing happened. So again, I'm guessing. Bon dia, gente. There we go. So long as you say it with feeling, there, I think you can be forgiven some goof ups on pronunciation. Who else do we have with us in the chat today? We have Kit Saucy wishing us a good morning. Hello. Lovely to see you. Hope that Kit Oberon is doing well and that the whole family is doing well. Saw yesterday in the chat that yeah, he seems to be gaining weight very well. There was a little issue with that at the beginning, but it seems that he has caught up and is um, seems happy and healthy, and that always brings us joy here at the Beaver Lodge. So thank you for the updates, and thank you, Kits and Cubs, for actually asking because I think it was a Kit who asked about that in the chat yesterday. We have Kit playing with 3D here, and then so good morning to you. And who else? Looking through the list, you have been very active this morning. Kit Jan, lovely. Hello, so nice to see you. Oh, I always love seeing your name on our list. So good morning to you. Glad you're here. Bucky is here saying good morning all. Good morning to you, Kit Bucky. And Kit Frank is also with us here. And saying, TGIF, now that I'm working, do I ever appreciate Fridays? Indeed, nothing like a little job action to make one appreciate the weekend or whatever the weekend is for you, because not everybody does the Saturday and Sunday thing. We have Kit Kat W here in the chat. And we have here. Uh, Whoops, that was a mistake on my part there in the chat. We have a Kitland M saying here, Mr. Beaver is going to be Tigger today, bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. And I have Kit Sharon pretty happy here. Tigger, the most wonderful thing about tigers are wonderful things. And you guys actually landed pretty well because in my late 20s and early 30s, Tigger actually was my nickname given to me by friends and peers because indeed everywhere I showed up, I was just so happy to be there that it seemed that I had springs in my knees and I was always like bouncing. So it's nice that you're seeing it too. I guess they were right to call me Tigger. And then we have Kit Wishful with us here saying good morning. Lovely to see you too, Kit Wishful. Thank you for joining us this morning. And I think with that, I might have everyone. I do. Okay. Wow. Lots of people today. Often is on a Friday, though. It's almost like everybody's um, meeting around the water cooler. Speaking of water, let's keep our beaver moist. Mm, yum, yum, yum. All right, kids and cubs. Um, as you know, we like to focus on Canada, but every now and then we take a little look at things that are going on elsewhere in the world, especially when they are very significant events. And today we do have something like that with which we're going to open the show because the president, unfortunately, president of the United States, is on his way to what we hope will be a pleasant trip. And I don't mean the kind you take in a plane. Um, have a nice trip, literally. Whoops. Um, but is on his way. If everything I heard is accurate, he might be in the air right now and on his way to Anchorage, Alaska to have a meeting with Big Daddy Vladdy. The man, he can't really seem to go all the way for when it comes to condemning him. But yes, it seems they are going to Alaska in order to discuss the situation in Ukraine because, well, as you know, Donald Trump really wants a Nobel Prize and wants credit for bringing peace to that conflict, already claiming that he's brought peace to 5 different conflicts. I am pretty sure that the protagonists in those conflicts have quite a different take on his involvement in those situations, in those files, and his contributions to bring about whatever he is considering uh, as peace in those conflicts. And yeah, anyway. A little bit of delusions of grandeur here. But yes, the war that he said he would be able to finish in one day and probably even before he assumed office continues on. He has not been very successful. Now, he has balked a couple of times about Putin. He has threatened some things, and given some 50-day runways and then a delay and then a runway and then a delay, much like he's been doing for trade, actually. There's a lot of similar parallels. His tariff policy and his Putin policy on Ukraine are very similar in terms of setting a deadline and then blowing past it, and setting a deadline and then blowing past it, and moving some goalposts around the way, and being as inconsistent in as Jello and all that kind of stuff. So all those uh, trademarks, those hallmarks of what it is with dealing with Trump are present here. But they are meeting, and this was precipitated by a couple of things. So basically, for all the stuff that Trump has been saying out loud about him not being happy with Putin because the killing keeps continuing, isn't met with any particular action. There are threats of action. There's statements of him not being very happy, of consequences coming, but there isn't all that much. It's not that there's nothing, but there isn't all that much, to be totally honest. Um, so the big question here, the overall water in which all of this is bathing, is the question. The question. This is the lens through which I'm looking at it here is, does IQ 47 want a Nobel Peace Prize more than he wants friendship or the respect, friendship with or the respect of Vladimir Putin? And that's pretty much what's going to determine what happens next, basically. If he cares more about having the respect of Putin and his and friendship or whatever it is he thinks he has, type of relationship he has with him, then whatever's going to come out of this meeting will probably be something that ends up throwing Zelensky and Ukraine somewhat under the bus and allows Putin to keep on doing what he's doing with no meaningful consequence that could be a deterrent or even give him pause to wanting to deviate from his current plan. If Trump really does want that Nobel Prize, well, he is very transactional and then might be willing to trade Putin for a Nobel. And this could be the beginning of that. But pretty much everything in Trump's world is about me, 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 me. No, 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 me. So that's the lens through which I'm looking at whatever's transpiring today. Um, there have been some interesting moves, as I've said, and interesting events sort of leading up to this. It would seem that at the beginning, um, Trump would have wanted this to be a tripartite meeting with Zelensky and Putin, but Putin balked very, very strongly at that. And of course, Trump, as usual, caved. So that is why it is a two-person meeting rather than a three-person meeting, at least, if not more. That was not met with joy, which is an understatement, from European nations because, well, this is happening rather close to home. So they would not like for certain precedents to be set with this meeting that could also put them in danger. So Trump has been musing aloud, as he has many times before, about um, exchanges of territory or Ukraine losing some territory being an inevitable necessity of peace. So, in other words, given something to Putin that he's not entitled to, because you don't go into other nations and just to say, hey, you know what, that's mine now. We've decided that we do not do that some time ago. And that's precisely what he is doing. So Ukraine is definitely not down with that. And neither are other European nations, because if we create the precedent that that's okay for Ukraine, then Finland and Poland in particular are thinking, What does that mean for us? And Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania are certainly um, much more concerned, and other European nations that do have a history of having been invaded, like France and might have a problem with that. Belgium might have a problem with that, right? So people are not very happy with those types of pronouncements that some type of exchange of land might be needed in order to bring peace to this. Now, this is a bit of an evolution because I remember a time when IQ 47 was just basically saying, that pretty much whatever it is that Putin is deemed to have conquered will probably remain his. And now at least he's talking about exchanges of land so that Ukraine gets to keep something or get something that they've quote unquote lost instead of just having to accept that the lines are now where the lines are now and then keep moving from that point, which isn't acceptable because all of those other types of proposals that Trump has had along the way are only situations that temporarily pause uh, these kinetic interactions between both sides, allowing Russia to regroup and then to later try again, because that's all this thing has been from the beginning, right? Russia doing something, then pulling back, and then trying again, pulling back, and then trying again, right? This isn't a this isn't a new pursuit for Vlad. He's been at this for a while through a whole bunch of various means. So the European Union, um, I, well, I'm not sure if it's the European Union. I shouldn't say that. There's a series of group of European nations that got together and had a virtual meeting with Trump and Zelensky prior to today's events in order to help prepare and to help get their word in. Um, as to what it is that they would like to see and things that they would like Trump to advocate for lack of a better term, during his conversations with Putin. There are other discussions going around about whether or not Trump will be offering access to Alaskan natural resources, such as critical minerals, to Putin, maybe as a way to butter him up or something of the sort. Um, Trump has been playing coy with that, which usually means yes, he's going to do it. But we'll see about that. And there's probably low confidence that this meeting will be um, Vladimir and Trump solely discussing Ukraine because, well, let's be pretty clear and honest here. Putin has absolutely no intention whatsoever of stopping his mission. He's made that very clear that he has a mission and that he intends to see it through. So, and given that Donald Trump doesn't have a very long attention span, it's a lot of people are suspecting that Putin will probably be asking for tons of things during this meeting, not all of them necessarily having to do with Ukraine directly, and uh, and possibly even offering Trump a few things to make him happy that Trump might be wanting in other areas to divert him off talking about Ukraine and still saying after it's all done that it was a wonderful meeting, a perfect meeting, the most beautiful meeting you've ever heard. um, Trump is already tempering expectations. We're not going to emerge from this meeting with peace. The guy who said he could solve the war in one day, but with another meeting, maybe uh, a summit-like type meeting that might include Zelensky and other European nations. Maybe. Zelensky is not particularly happy that he's not involved in this meeting because, as is the case for many things, nothing about us without us. Sitting there, you two are having a meeting about the future of my country. Should I not be there? Maybe I don't know. Right? So, not particularly thrilled about that, but um, as we mentioned when talking about other topics, Zelensky seems to have a very uh, interesting, more long game strategy than Trump and Putin have. Well, Putin, I can say, has a long game strategy as well. I have to say, but Trump doesn't here. And Zelensky, it would appear, has caught on to the fact that Putin frequently agrees to meetings and then sometimes doesn't show up for them, or agrees to meetings and a lot of things happen, but then he never follows through on things. That for Putin, meetings are delay tactics and appeasement tactics and nothing more. Potential opportunities to gain small concessions, small advantages, maybe even negotiate uh, specific tiny ceasefires or pauses that allow them to better regroup for what it is that they always intend to do. The main primary objective that they do not deviate from, and nothing more, nothing less. So Zelensky has been showing up for all of these meetings and showing up for all of Trump's calls, particularly after that awful office dressing down, has agreed to certain concessions that Trump has asked, or certain things that he wants specifically from Ukraine that don't have anything to do specifically with Putin, and quite willing to put them on the table to the point that it seems that Trump may finally, and this happened a couple of months ago, getting the sense that, Vladimir Putin might not be an honest guy, might not be a good faith negotiator, and that maybe Trump is being played and humiliated and laughed at in public. And well, Trump doesn't like that. Maybe. So it seems that Zelensky's sort of trying to play that angle, maybe whispering a lot in Trump's ear. See, Vlad's doing it again, man. He's just laughing at you, dude. You really can't stick with him, man. You would be better off, you know, making sure that he's opposed because, if he's laughing at you now, imagine what happens if he gets the win and you have nothing to do with it and we're not able to stop it. You might want to do something else there, Donald. And maybe over time, repeating that message over and over and over again as Putin keeps on not delivering the things that Trump says that he wants, and that Trump keeps on announcing that Putin has somehow promised or pledged or said he would look into, but never does. Um, that maybe if he pursues that strategy over a lengthy amount of time, Trump might get frustrated enough with not getting his way from the man he so adores and wants to be, and whose approval he seeks so often, that he might uh, turn on him. Because, I mean, this is essentially what his whole presidency thing is, too, right? He spent his whole life seeking the approval of old money and respect of old money and never got it. And now, well, he's sure showing them now, isn't he? Just saying. So that might be on the Zelensky side here. He's looking at this as another opportunity for Putin to prove his bad faith, and then waiting for the results of that and seeing if he might be able to parlay that into some long-term advantage for himself and for his nation. Trump is also saying, when he's tempering expectations, he's been saying out loud that there's a roughly 25% chance that this meeting will fail, and has been describing it as a listening exercise, which to me is hilarious. And also, um, one of those, this is how you know this is bullshit moments because, well, number one, Trump never stops his yap from flapping long enough to listen. And it's not like he is particularly known for his listening skills now, is he? I mean, l- Trump has been making these comments that he would know in the first 2, 3, 4, or 5 minutes whether or not this is a serious meeting or whether or not it will end very quickly, that type of stuff. And we're sitting here knowing, Trump, if listening actually was your thing and something that you exercised somewhere in your first 4 years as president or the 4 years between or the little over 6 months that you've been president a second time, you might have heard or caught on yet to the fact that Putin's bad faith negotiator and that this is ultimately going to be a bad meeting, if not in the moment, in the current nanosecond for your eclipse today, down the road. They'll probably be showing clips of the press conference that will be had after the meeting uh, with um, commentary of what's going on currently that is now embarrassing and showing that that press conference aged like milk. So, ugh, yeah, uh, you know what? I don't particularly feel sorry for Trump, but I don't envy him here because the the question pretty much on everyone's mind here is, was Trump going to play Putin? And anybody who's been paying attention is like, is the Pope Catholic? Does the sun rise in the east? Is a frog's ass watertight? Yeah, Putin is going to play Trump, of course. Uh, I mean, that's how this dance goes, right? Um, and Trump wants stuff from Putin. He wants stuff from Netanyahu. Right, those are the two big ones. All the wars that Trump says he's bringing peace to, and all these other places where there are skirmishes and things that flare up. Trump is not really doing much, but the two on which he really promised and campaigned hard on, right, was Netanyahu and Putin. And both of them have been given Trump the exact same treatment for all intensive purposes. Both Putin and Netanyahu are very clear that they have a primary objective, that they are on a mission, and that they intend to complete it, regardless of what anyone says. The International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice, allies, whether there are threats to stop weapon shipments, threats of other types of action, sanction, you name it. Both Putin, both Netanyahu keep their heads down and just keep following whatever it is that they've wanted to do all along. And they do it because they think they can, because the United States has never, ever seriously, in a concerted fashion, stood up to either of them in any way, in any meaningful way, to stop them. Both of them have literally gotten away with murder and war crimes, if we are to believe the ICC and ICJ, at least, who seem to know their stuff when it comes to these particular matters. So, why would that change? Why would they have any expectation that things would change now? And then, of course, playing in the background, uh, again, what everybody's been wondering, but nobody's been able to confirm, is whether or not Donald Trump's docility when it comes to Putin and possibly even Netanyahu has anything to do with compromat that either might have on him. And that's how he is being kept in line. Very real considerations, all of this, because we both know, you and I, DAMFAM, that these are tactics that are used in these situations, and that, um, well, Putin is a master dealer in compromat, and I don't know if that is similar for Netanyahu, but we know that Israel has a very, 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 very um, effective secret service, if one would want to call it that. By necessity, it has needed one. There's no doubt, but we know it can be very effective, and we know that Israel has, in the past, used uh, intelligence against some of its allies. You might want to ask New Zealand, in particular, about that. They've been at the receiving end. Um, so yeah, they have never really seriously been impeded, and this not by just this government, but by others over a significant period of time, and therefore they are both emboldened, might even be feeling a tad invincible in the sense that, oh yeah, well, the United States always barks. What are they going to do really? They never do anything. Just let them bark, have a meeting, sign a trade deal of something, sign some type of agreement, make them happy for a while, and then just keep on doing what you're doing. Which is why I'm thinking that Putin might be talking about a whole bunch of things during this meeting that have nothing to do directly with Ukraine, but it always has something to do with Ukraine because it's a manner to get the United States to not follow through with things that it is threatening, which allows Putin to just keep on doing what Putin is doing. Now, Putin is meeting Trump to appease them. And according to John Herbst, who's the senior director of the Atlantic Council's Eurasia Center, this is a known tactic of Putin and one that he has tried before because Trump has basically said that Putin needs to stop the shooting by today or that there would be very severe consequences. And then Putin countered with an offer of a meeting that Trump has been making uh, lots of hay of. Because remember, Trump is a marketer first. And then, um, but this is a similar play that Putin did to Trump in May of this year, where Trump was getting a little hot under the collar about things. And then Putin said, dude, hey, buddy, don't be upset. Don't be sad. Let's have a meeting. Don't be like that. Come on, Satan. Love me some South Park. Um, so yeah, that's basically the lay of the land going into this. Um, Now, on the other side of the ledger, Zelensky says that he has received so far $1.5 billion in pledges from NATO countries to purchase US made military equipment. This is one of the things, the long game strategies, whereas the United States um, wants to have its cake and eat it too, in the sense that um, Trump does want to show, will create the illusion that he's the one that's in control and can make Putin dance to the tune that he's calling. And he seems to go back and forth on the protecting, the defending Ukraine thing. Um, if Trump really is tired of Putin, he would allow Ukraine to arm itself to the teeth, right? But Trump has also been going all around saying, The whole world lives off us, and the whole world depends on us and takes from us and cheats and screws us over. So, um, this deal that kind of emerged over the past few months that the United States would not be supplying weapons so much directly to Ukraine, but would be open to supplying US made armaments and weapons to Ukraine if the European Union would buy them and purchase them. So this is $1.5 billion dollars that have been pledged for that specific purpose. So now that could change the dynamic in a bit in that the European is coming to the table with $1.5 billion dollars to buy weaponry from the United States, which creates economic activity there. And then Trump can point out and go in front of a microphone and say, see, look what a great deal maker I am. Look at all this money that's coming into this country because I got those damn Europeans to finally start paying for stuff. Ah, rah, 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 rah. Um, that could be of more benefit to him in the marketing and PR game than having Putin respect him. And that over time could change some dynamics if we're looking at the type of person that Trump is. So that $1.5 billion is an interesting move. And of course, showing that, the United States is still willing to do some stuff in Ukraine that would make Putin's life harder because the United States could simply decide that, no, we're not selling weapons anymore to do this type of initiative. And at least he appears to be open to that. Now, whether or not the weapons actually get delivered, because Trump is known for stiffing people, that's a whole other thing. But that appears to be a reality that is working in Zelensky's favor if his long term play strategy is going to be effective. Um, it would seem as well that at least the White House has announced that a joint press conference with Putin and Trump after the meeting uh, is so far on the schedule. That is something that could change. If that press conference is not joint at the end of the day, it might be an indication that it wasn't as good a meeting as Trump wanted it to be going in. And Trump has essentially been saying that the meeting will set the table for real progress towards peace. Because again, in all the time that this has been going on, um, um, uh, well, let's put it this way: there has been no table set for real progress towards peace, and you would think that Trump would have uh, been on that sometime before, considering how much he claims he wants it. Anyway, we'll see what happens, as Trump likes to say, when it comes to these types of things. And but yeah, that's the situation at the moment, and the overall lay of the land as I see it at the moment. And let's put it this way: whatever happens, there's going to be news today with regard to this. Not sure what types of big developments or if there will be anything earth-shattering, but there will be news. And the news is coming with some overall other global context here. I'm watching some of the comments from the kits here in the chat. Um, Got Kitland M saying here, I don't think it matters if Trump gets any agreement with Putin because it won't involve Ukraine. I also think the Nobel Committee has enough sense to not give Trump anything. Indeed. And then Kit Nona Carol here. Trump has started more trade wars, which by definition is war, than any leader in history. So he will never get that award. Um, yeah, Kit Tavi G here. It would be a mockery to the award if he ever received it. I have absolutely, absolutely no doubt about that being true. Uh, yeah. And then again, Kid Tom asks, but worth more to whom when we're talking about that $1.5 billion? Trump really only does think about his own benefit. Yep. He does have midterms coming, and he does need some wins to point to in order to claim that his big, beautiful bill is indeed working and making Americans' lives better. So it might be a strictly positioning for what is coming situation. So, yeah. And then, you know, um, who knows what forms of tribute are being paid in various other ways behind the scenes. But yes, that is a very valid question. How does it personally benefit Trump? Because it's Trump first, then America, if there's something left over. So yes, there has to be some type of angle in which it personally benefits him, either monetarily going directly to his pocket, power, prestige, something gives him something that he can hold over someone else's head and use later, or something that helps him ensure that his final 2 years as president, hopefully final 2 years as president, because hopefully he goes away, truly are lame duck years. And he doesn't want that, clearly. So, but yes, you are correct. You should always keep in mind, how does this benefit Trump personally? Absolutely. That's a very, very good point, and glad you raised it. Now, all of this, as I mentioned, is happening in a larger context as well. That Trump is experiencing some pressures, to put the word lightly. One of the pressures that he is experiencing is that he is dropping in public opinion appreciation throughout the United States. I saw this on CNN yesterday, and the United States, they often ask when it comes to polling. Um, they ask what's called a generic ballot. So they ask, which party would you support more in the next election or at the midterms, Republicans or Democrats, without associating a name or a leader or anything, just the party. Well, these are some results that have recently come out. As you've been hearing, there's a big move in Texas to try to gerrymander the state legislature map in order to turn more seats that are basically parse out the voters that are uh, in those seats. There's two ways that you can do gerrymandering, right? It's by packing ridings, uh, packing right. I say riding because it's like United States, packing an electoral district with so many voters of the other party. That they win it with 80%, so that there's a whole bunch of superfluous vote that doesn't count anywhere else, or by dividing the vote by having all those weird sort of districts with those weird outlines, and putting a portion of them in one and a portion of them in another and a portion in another, so as to dilute their impact and make them the minority everywhere. Um, so that is what's going on here, and in the states, and it seems that other Republican states are looking to do the same. That has prompted a reaction from the governor of California, of course, Gavin Newsom, who says, "Well, listen, if you guys are going to do that in Texas in order to flip five." Take democracy away and make five more seats Republican, that must be a sign, number one, that you're afraid that you're going to do terrible in the midterms and potentially lose the House, and that you're trying to rig it. And what's particularly exceptional here is that because here in Canada, right, electoral boundaries are redrawn by the electoral body, Elections Canada, federally, and all the provincial electoral bodies. And, we have the census information come out every 10 years, and then people look at that. From Elections Canada and these elections bodies, redraw the maps a little bit, add some seats if needed, and then we have the map with which we go into the next election. But the United States, it's elected officials that do this, and that's an inherent conflict of interest, but that is the case. So often they redraw the maps to advantage themselves, which is what's going on here. So, and this is mostly a Republican thing. A lot of Republicans point to specific districts. I can't believe that's this. Well, what about this district in Texas? Yeah, The Democrats gerrymandered that one, and it's like, well, for the Democrats to have gerrymandered that one, the Democrats would have had to have been in power to do that, and when's the last time the Democrats were in power in Texas? Or they point to one in Maryland, and they go, "Well, how's a Republican supposed to win in this district?" Maryland elected a Republican governor not too long ago. Has everybody forgotten? So the counter arguments are not particularly solid. All right. But California is looking at saying, well, you know what? If you guys go and gerrymander, well, then we can gerrymander that too in California, and we can wipe away those 5 seat advantage that you're looking to get there, and maybe even more. So it seems that Democrats are finally thinking, yes, gerrymandering is bad, but if you guys are going to insist on doing it, well, maybe if we do it too, and if we do it better, you might suddenly decide that it loses its appeal. Much like a strategy that sometimes parents do when their kids like things and think it's cool that the parents don't really like the kids liking, so the parents pretend that they really like it too and are really into it, and then that kind of turns the kids off it. Well, if my lame parents really like it, it can't be all that cool. I'm gonna find something else. So could be a little bit of a psychological thing there. So if you guys do it, then we'll do it too, and we'll do it better. And if we keep on doing it too and doing it better, and you see there's no advantage, maybe you'll stop because there's nothing in it for you anymore. So all those types of moves, and the impact of tariffs, people are seeing those tariffs mount, and the results of the economic policies, because the data is coming in. And there's a lot of people that are waking up and saying, "Hey, wait a minute, I didn't vote for that." So yeah, you did. You just didn't read the fine print. You voted for that when you thought it was going to happen to the people they told you not to like and validated you in not liking. But you always were intended to be collateral damage, and now that you're finding out what that collateral damage is and how that affects you, all of a sudden you didn't vote for that. Well, yeah, it is turning some people off. So on this generic ballot thing here, uh, 3 pollsters, CNBC, said that the Democrats had a 2% lead in the generic ballot, and now that is 5%. Ipsos had 1% in the spring, and now that's 4%. And the Wall Street Journal, that noted liberal rag, had a 1% lead, and now it's 3. So Trump is indeed becoming less popular. And yeah, I did finish that thought about the census, is that normally these districts are redone every 10 years. Well, this is a uh, in between census. So we're at 5 years from the last previous census, and the Republicans are looking to gerrymander again. So not every 10 years, but every 5 years now, in order to make sure they keep on winning. So that would be another indication that Trump is maybe getting the sense that things are not going well for him. Other things that have happened, that Trump recently fired the director of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because the employment numbers were not to his liking, particularly since May and June numbers got very substantially revised downwards. And then he said that those numbers were rigged, and then fired the director of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Well, I don't know how he's going to fire now, but this also from uh, uh, from the Bureau of Labor Statistics when it comes to inflation. And this is according to CNN, Alicia Wallace. Costs were sharply on the rise for producers and manufacturers in July, a sign that higher prices could soon filter down to American consumers. U.S. inflation on the wholesale level picked up steam last month, with prices rising by the fastest monthly pace since June 2022, new data showed Thursday. The latest producer price index, which measures the average change in prices paid to producers, jumped 0.9% from June. So in 1 month, nearly 1 full percent, lifting the annual rate to 3.3%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. PPI, the Producer Price Index, serves as a potential bellwether for the prices consumers may see in the months ahead. Quote, producers are starting to feel the inflation fire heat, Chris Rupke, chief economist at Forward Bonds, wrote on Thursday. It will only be a matter of time before producers pass their higher tariff related costs onto the backs of inflation weary consumers. And Kits and cubs, as you know, those tariffs have recently increased. So the full weight of the first set of tariffs hasn't been passed through yet because people bought a lot of inventory. But now some of those costs are starting to be passed on. Prices are going up. And there's a whole other series of price increases just waiting to happen because, well, he finally has imposed tariffs on a whole bunch of other people. And they are coming into effect now. Thursday's readings far exceeded economists' expectations for prices would rise just by 0.2% in July and 2.4% annually. So they thought there would be a 0.2% rise in inflation for that month. It rose 0.9 instead, nearly 5 times higher. Nearly, if we were a Pierre Polyev conservative, we would be saying inflation is almost 500% higher than was predicted last month. That's how conservatives spin that type of thing, right? But so 0.2 expected, they got 0.9. 0.2 to raise the PPI to 2.4% annually. It's now sitting at 3.3. Again, I will remind you, kits and cubs, that uh, that basic thing about stagflation, which is considered way worse than rampant inflation. Stagflation requires increasing inflation, which we have here, and rapidly, uh, declining jobs, which we have. The unemployment rate went up 0.1% in the last report, and low economic growth. And the United States is at about 1.2% for the first 6 months of the year. We pretty much in the United States are in stagflation, within costs projected to rise, disposable income projected to decrease as people lose their SNAP and Medicaid benefits, and employment is still expected to go down as people don't come to the United States. People start diverting their trade away from the United States, and as employers have less and less money to hire people and make long-term plans with regards to hiring people for the long term because they are now paying anywhere from 10 to 50% more for things they import. Well done, Donald. Keep punching yourself in the dick. Ay, ay, ay. Earlier this week, the consumer price index for July showed that falling gas prices kept a lid on overall consumer price hikes, but that tariff sensitive goods continued to get more costly. Quote, the large spike in PPI this morning shows inflation is coursing through the economy, even if it hasn't been felt by consumers yet, said Chris Zaccarelli, Chief Investment Officer at Northlight Asset Management. Quote, given how benign the CPI numbers were on Tuesday, this is a most unwelcome surprise to the upside and is likely to unwind some of the optimism of a guaranteed rate cut next month. Traders paired their bets that the Federal Reserve would cut its benchmark lending rate at its September meeting. Excluding food and energy, core PPI also shot higher by 0.9%, sending the annual rate to 3.7, the highest level since March. So, yeah, rising inflation, not great um, job prospects, uh, and this inflation increase represents the sharpest increase in 5 months, which is a lot. And if we're looking at ways that this is showing up through the economy, the Port of Los Angeles saw a record volume of cargo traffic in July as people tried to import products before the second wave of new tariffs took effect. So there might be another swing in numbers that are going to be coming out that'll be artificially influenced by this type of activity, making the top line number unreliable. Because you'd have to dig into it to see why it is that that happened, and then you would realize it's because people stocked up, and we've literally just seen this scenario at the end of last year, coming into the beginning of this year. Um, Another issue that is not doing well for Trump is that, according to the Latino polling group Equis Research, it is showing that about one third of the Latino voters who supported Trump in the last federal election do not plan to vote for Republican next year during the midterms because economic issues like persistently high prices on groceries and healthcare um, have not been resolved as has promised, and that is driving the shift away from him. It is not at the moment translating into increased support for Democrats, but it seems to be more of a sit on your hands vote that he is losing. So when you add that to the generic ballot numbers, to the low approval rating numbers, I think Trump is in at 38%, which is, I think, the lowest that a president has been at this point in their mandate. Um, you add it all together, uh, it's not good. And then when you're looking at the stock markets and you're not seeing the stock markets fall yet, um, that's an that's also not a good sign for Trump because it's a sign that markets are no longer reacting to the announcements that Trump is making. So when he announced that big Liberation Day thing in April, you saw like the Dow drop X number of points, like 500, 600 points in a day. Or no, God, there must have been more than that actually. But that was a big dip. Um, that was a bigger dip. The 500 points in the day was when he finally went ahead with increased tariffs on something, and then but the market bounces back from that. Um, but yeah, uh, markets have stopped reacting to the announcements and are waiting to see the actual results. So, and markets are rather inflated at the moment. So when they do fall, they are going to fall hard. They are going to fall hard. So yeah, that is also probably not good in Trump's favor. So and there's also more reports of some Republicans hosting some town halls, and then that those not going well for them either. So when you put all of that together, the economic data not being good, people starting to see it and feel it in their wallets, certain groups of people noticing that what he has promised he has not delivered and breaking away from him, certain uh, some more vocal opposition starting to pop up. Um, Democrats maybe finding a little bit of game here when it comes to responding to what's going on. Put it all together, Trump is desperate for some wins, also desperate for some distractions. So these are when Kit Tom asks what's in it for Trump, right? Anything that he can get out of this meeting that he thinks might help him with all those other factors could be things that Putin might be attempting to put on the table in order to distract Trump from the alleged primary objective of this meeting, and to try to get Trump feeling good about the meeting and good about Vlad, that he will stop threatening some type of consequences to come if Vlad keeps on doing what Vlad has always wanted to do all along. Anyway, that's how we see it, and then we'll get some results later on today and over the next days and weeks that will either prove our hunches here or our analysis to be correct, or prove that we're not. And then if we're not, we'll have to make adjustments. But we don't think we're all that wrong. Because if it gets to the point that Trump actually is seriously upset with Putin and ready to take some action, um, that will be a bit of a game changer. Now, there is some actions. That's why I don't want to say that there has been none, right? What Trump did um, in helping Israel attack Iran didn't help Putin very much because Iran was supplying Putin with a whole bunch of drones, and what happened there kind of makes that more difficult. Trump has also imposed, I think, 50% tariffs on India. There was a 25%, and then they got hit with another 25% because India is buying Russian oil and is one of the two largest purchasers of Russian oil. There's India and China. And of course, Trump didn't do an extra 25% on China because, well, he knows he can't actually win a trade war with China at all. And seems to be too afraid to try to bully China in the same way that he's bullying Canada and Mexico, but and attempting to bully a little bit India in order to get Putin to be a little more pliable. But so he is taking some action, and he has threatened, when he has threatened some type of consequences, that it would be higher tariffs on secondary nations that do trade with Putin that allow him to raise bank that he needs to be able to continue waging this war. And those would be welcome, as well as the United States joining a lot of other nations on the full range of sanctions, and then implementing them would certainly be helpful. But uh, there have been a couple of things that have happened that are not helpful to Putin, but clearly not enough and not consistently enough to make Putin think twice. So there you go. That's the sort of overall picture that we have. Uh, Back home to Canada, it would seem, well, this is not just Canada, but it would seem that yesterday was International Cat Day and we missed it. So, kits and cubs, for all of you who have some furry felines in your lives, a little extra love for those fluffies. Give them some scritches for me. Thank you so much. But today, the 15th, is Acadia Day. Bonne journée de l'Acadie. And that is a wonderful day in the country. It's the celebration of the Acadians, and what's not to celebrate? They are lovely people with a rich culture. Um, we talked recently about Le Grand Dérangement, where the anniversary of which, and that there was some people trying to stunt on that as a, oh, you're going to try to make white Anglo-Saxon people feel guilty for their history type thing, and blah, whatever. But August 15th, while Le Grand Dérangement is a day to remember, a tragedy that has happened, this is a day to celebrate August 15th. So, according to salutcanada.ca, in 1881, the Acadians who met at Memramcook for their national convention, the first one, chose August 15th as the date for their national holiday. Since then, Acadians get together on the day of the Assumption to commemorate their history and celebrate their culture. Now, for those who might not know what the Day of the Assumption is, it is a religious holiday in, I think, in the Christian faith all over. And of course, there's different sects of Christianity and it's marked differently. But it is the day that the Virgin Mary is said to have been called to eternal life. There's some debate as to whether or not she died first or whether she was just raised to heaven without bodily death. In terms of academic debate. But yes, that is the date of the Assumption. So back in the day, in 1881, when religion was much more a part of politics, there was a much less separation of church and state than there is today. Though some people might be wondering how much separation of church and state do we really have anymore, given the way things are moving. But yes, it was made to coincide with the date of the Assumption. For some 40 years, this holiday has taken on a new meaning owing to a very unique event, the Tintamarre. And Tintamarre is a French word that basically, if you translate it into English, means a really loud racket, lots of noise. So, remember in the early days of COVID, where every day at a certain hour we would all go on our balconies or on our front lawns and whatnot and bang our pots and stuff like that in appreciation for the nurses and doctors and medical staff and all that kind of stuff that were doing hard work. That's a sort of a tintamarre type thing. So in 1979, this noisy and colorful event became a central element of the celebration on the occasion of the 375th anniversary of the founding of Acadia by emphasizing its festive side. Acadians use this event to express loud and clear their vitality, pride, and joie de vivre, as they have been successful against all odds in preserving their culture. Since then, on August 15th, Tintamarre's performances and joyous gatherings of all kinds take place just about everywhere where Acadians are living. So sometimes you have these Tintamarres are actually like parades where people to get together with any type of noisemaker that they can have, pots and pans, and just bang them there and you know walk through the streets and celebrate. The largest Acadian Tétamar always takes place in Caraquette, where this young tradition has grown significantly. On August 15th, the last day of the Acadian festival, tens of thousands of individuals invade the city to participate in this unique event. Exuberance carries the day, costumes and disguises in the colors of Acadia. That's red, white, and blue, and yellow. So it's a red. It's almost like the flag of Acadia. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty much like the French flag, but on one of the stripes there is a yellow star, a single yellow star. I believe it's on the. Believe it's on the oh my god, I should know that. I'm terrible off the top of my head. It is on the blue stripe. I was going to say that, but I did not want to venture out boldly and make a statement. But here we are, kids and cubs. Since we have it, let it here. That is kids and cubs. That's the very, very beautiful flag of Acadia there. If you've never had an opportunity to see it. All right. Um, let's keep going here. Okay. So let's see here. Exuberance carries the day. Costumes and disguises in the colors of Acadia. Acadian flags, pots, plants, penny whistles, trumpets, and other noise-making devices. I think that meant pots and pans and not pots and plans. That might be a typo there. A competition rewards individuals, couples, or families for the most original costumes and the most inventive noise-making devices so as to motivate the largest number of people to be creative and participate in the event. Workshops are even given during the festival to help people prepare for it. At the stroke of 6 p.m., when church bells are ringing, a frenzied parade starts to march through Caraquette. In the evening, a major musical performance, one that is harmonious, closes the festival and national holiday celebrations. Elsewhere in Acadia, on August 15th, the celebrations include a mass, a family picnic, a parade of decorated trawlers, performances of all kinds, and more tintamarres. The cities of Moncton and Dieppe organize their own tintamarre, as do Bouctouche and Chéticamp, Chipagan, and Petit Rocher. Gatineau and Quebec City, Shediac and Kedgwick, Bonaventure, Port-au-Port, Pointe de l'Église, and many other towns right up to Maine in the United States also celebrate Acadia Day with some tintamarres. So you don't necessarily have to be in Acadia to celebrate the occasion. Wherever Acadians live, festive gatherings spread the good cheer. National Acadian Day has become an explosion of joy to which everyone is invited. So, yeah, and a little bit of a history here. The option of celebrating the Acadian people on August 15th gave rise to some lively debates during the 1881 National Convention. Several delegates had just taken part in the second major national convention of French Canadians, which had been held the previous year in Quebec City, during which was born the idea of uniting Acadians based on the model of those French Canadians who were trying to join forces in order to enhance their development. To choose a patron saint who would help Acadians tighten the fraternal bonds that unite, such as origin, race, language, and religion. Some delegates wanted to join the French Canadians and opt for Saint Jean Baptiste Day. Others feared that if they did so, they would lose their Acadian identity. They emphasized the differences that set them apart from this other French Canadian Catholic branch, the French Canadians who were originally concentrated in the St. Lawrence Valley. Father Marcel François Richard proved to be the most convincing of the delegates when he presented the fact that Acadians are a separate people with a different history and a destiny of their own. Owing to his eloquence, everyone embraced his proposal of choosing Our Lady of the Assumption as the patron saint of Acadians and the Feast of the Assumption, August 15th, as the day of their national holiday. The option was approved by the Episcopate of the Maritime Provinces on September 16th, 1881. There we go. And the first tintamarre for those who are wondering, took place in Moncton in 1955 to commemorate the bicentennial of the expulsion of the Acadians. At that time, Archbishop Norbert Robichaud summoned all Acadian families to recite the bicentennial prayer at the sound of the city's church bells and then make a joyous tintamarre with whatever they had on hand, such as whistles, car horns, bicycle bells, noise-making objects, toys, etc. The idea was only revived in 1979 by the Société des Acadiens du Nouveau-Brunswick for the purpose of celebrating the 375th anniversary of the founding of Acadia. It wanted to encourage the Acadian people to reaffirm their identity loud and clear. The event was so successful that it became an annual event in a number of Acadian communities. The tintamarre seems to have been inspired by an ancient, almost forgotten tradition, the charivari, which young men practiced to protest various events, such as the marriage of a young woman to an old man. However, with regard to the tintamarre, the initial meaning of charivari was totally transformed into a joyous and unifying event. In this sense, the tintamarre is part of a cultural, intangible heritage that is uniquely Canadian. There we go. And Charivari itself is also a noisy mock serenade performed by a group of people to celebrate a marriage or mock an unpopular person. So there you go. It's a little more discordant. So, bonne fête des Acadiens à tous les Acadiennes et tous les Acadians. I hope that you have a wonderful day. And si tu vas te let me see if I remember this perfectly. Si tu vas te décaraper la gueule là-bas, please do it responsibly. That is an Acadian saying for basically getting drunk. Ah, and I believe, if I am not mistaken as well, that coming up, there will be more celebrations on Monday, the 18th. It will be Discovery Day in the Yukon Territory. So hopefully we might have something for that. On my calendar, it also says that there's something called the Gold Cup Parade today, but I have no idea what that means actually. But that's something that happens in Charlottetown, PEI. So yes, Friday, August 15th at 10 a.m. Local time will be the 2025 Gold Cup Parade. The theme this year is Let the Music Move You. The parade marshal is Lenny Gallant. So yeah, that is happening in Charlottetown. I do not know much about what it is though. So let's read here. The Gold Cup Parade is the largest parade east of Montreal. Every year, the parade attracts entities from businesses, communities, and organizations from across the Maritimes, multiple marching bands from the Maritimes, Quebec, and occasionally from the United States, as well as numerous horse, antique, car, and clown entries. The parade also features the much-loved huge cold air-filled balloons brought from Windsor, Ontario. As the parade has grown, so have the spectators to where it is now, an estimated that close to 60,000 spectators line the streets of Charlottetown to participate in the Great Island tradition, plus the viewers of Eastlink TV across PEI and Nova Scotia. The Gold Cup Parade generates increased business activity in service industries, including hotels, restaurants, service stations, and retail establishments. As well, our parade is an island mainstay that contributes to Islanders' pride and sense of tradition. So there you go. That is happening here. It's based on the Gold Cup and Saucer Race, 1960, and the Gold Cup Parade, 1962. Both were founded by Frank Acorn and Bill Hancocks for the purpose of reviving Old Home Week, which prior to 1960 was beginning to lose audience appeal, and to focus attention on PEI's harness racing industry, while providing an exciting type of entertainment for both Islanders and summer visitors. The parade has been held every year since that time and has become one of the feature events of the summer season on the island. In the early days, the organization was a loosely knit group of businessmen who assisted the Charlottetown Driving Park in putting together the parade. But as it grew, it became a totally separate organization with the sole purpose of presenting the Gold Cup Parade as one of the premier events of Old Home Week. In 1986, the group incorporated as a not-for-profit company under the name the Charlottetown Parade Committee Incorporated and owns the name the Gold Cup Parade. And the organization is currently run by a volunteer board of directors from local businesses. The chair of the Gold Cup Parade Committee is Ray Murphy of Murphy's pharmacies. So there, a little plug there because someone is contributing to the community for a day of celebration. So why not give them a tip of the hat? So there you go. Acadia Day, if you're out there, Gold Cup Parade Day, if you are attending that or either of those activities, I am hoping that your celebrations will be joyous and safe. There we go. It's always nice to celebrate some things going on in Canada. Um, Kids and Cubs, a little bit of some wildfire updates here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Carbonear, I'm not sure if that's a town or a region, has seen water bombers and helicopters leave there to fight another fire that had started up. There have been some complaints and concerns about that. The premier says that the capital is not getting preferential treatment. The province's fire information officer says more humidity means less fire activity with regard to the Paddy's Pond wildfire. Evacuees of the Kingston wildfire on Newfoundland's Avalon Peninsula learned that approximately 100 homes had been destroyed as the fire continued to burn out of control. That was the one that we announced the other day that certain communities had disappeared into the smoke, but we hadn't been able to tell if there was any structural damage because nobody was able to get in. It seems that it is indeed the case that some homes have been destroyed, unfortunately, in that area. According to Jenna Head and Elizabeth Whitten of CBC News, there's been an evacuation alert issued for probably Jobs or Job's Cove on the north side of Conception Bay. As I mentioned, 100 homes destroyed by the Kingston fire, including at least 33 homes in Small Point, Broad Cove, Blackhead, Adams Cove, and at least 10 homes in a community of Kingston. The Kingston fire has grown to 8,019 hectares. 4 fines have been issued already for breaking the fire ban. An evacuation advisory expands for cabin owners near the Martin Lake fire. Evacuation area now includes the Paradise Lake area. Off-road vehicle ban was issued on Wednesday for forested areas in place until at least Sunday. I think we mentioned that yesterday. There is an evacuation order in place for Three Island Pond area in Paradise. There's also an evacuation alert in place for parts of Paradise and Conception Bay South, as well as the Southlands and Galway neighborhoods of St. John's. Regional state of emergency has been issued for parts of Conception Bay South, St. John's, and Conception Bay North. The Baie d'Espoir Highway remains closed between Sunday Pond Resource Road to the Cat Brook turnaround. And the Martin Lake fire is now 2,160 hectares. The Forestry Department issued the evacuation alert for Job's Cove shortly before 5 p.m. on Thursday. Residents in the unincorporated community on the north side of Conception Bay were asked to be ready to evacuate on very short notice. So it's also said here that Premier John Horgan has mentioned that due to the the extreme fire behavior, it's, quote, next to impossible to determine the exact number of structures that have been destroyed. But the 100 homes is a best estimate at the moment. So, yeah. And when we're talking about the Paddy's Pond fire specifically, because we had mentioned it, that one is still burning out of control, and it's at about 306 hectares. The winds were expected to shift, which will help push the fire back into the flames. Cooler temperatures, cloud cover, and humidity was also favorable, even without rain. The premier said some fire breaks were completed, and 3 to 4 water bombers would be on site Thursday, as well as helicopters, a bird dog, and firefighters. According to the Department of Justice and Public Safety spokesperson Eric Humber, 1,902 households and 3,590 individuals have registered with the Canadian Red Cross because of the wildfires as of Wednesday. And also, when we talked about some brush fires having been deliberately start, and somebody that they were looking for arson, it seems that someone has indeed been arrested and charged with arson for allegedly setting those brush fires. So there we go. Things moving forward there. Unfortunate that was the case and that needed to happen. But yes, some people, unfortunately, uh, just can't row in the same direction as the rest of the team. In Nova Scotia, human activity is responsible for the Susie's Lake blaze about 10 kilometers from downtown Halifax. It was sparked by an open fire, but the fire is said to be held at the moment, and there are nearly 10 other fires burning in Nova Scotia. In New Brunswick, the fire near Miramichi is still out of control. And in British Columbia, the fire near Port Alberni is spreading fast. As of last night, it was still at 10 kilometers from the town, but it's now under a state of emergency. The fire is 21 square kilometers, or the size of Victoria, and it's grown that big since Monday. Evacuation orders and alerts are in effect. 500 houses are without power. But it seems that in that case, there is also some improving weather situations that might help. According to townandcountrytoday.com, this is a Canadian Press article published in Town and Country Today. A forecast of up to 40 millimeters of rain is expected to help firefighters battling a wildfire that has been raging near Port Alberni on Vancouver Island this week. The Mount Underwood fire that has triggered evacuation orders and alerts measured more than 34 square kilometers on Thursday, so that's grown even larger than the 2021 I mentioned, about 58% larger than the day before. The fire had displayed some of the most extreme types of activity this week, racing up hillsides and setting the forest crown ablaze. But an update from the BC Wildfire Service on Thursday said crews working the blaze overnight saw moderate fire behavior as cooler temperatures and higher humidity moved into the area. The update said southwest winds would continue to push the fire in a northeasterly direction, which is away from urban areas. Rains that are part of a heavy soaking for parts of southern BC were forecast to arrive in the region late Thursday, with between 15 and 40 millimeters forecast for the area of the fire. The Wildfire Service says the moisture would help firefighting efforts, but the rain would have to be significant to have a meaningful impact over the longer term, given the persistent drought that has gripped Vancouver Island. The Alberni-Cloyacot Regional District's Emergency Operations Center said the growth of the fire, quote, was in line with expectations. The BC Wildfire Service said earlier Thursday that the measurement of the Mount Underwood fire, 12 kilometers south of Port Alberni, may change again once crews could get a better look either by helicopter or from the ground, as both are limited because of the thick smoke produced by the blaze. The billowing smoke has prompted Environment Canada to expand an air quality advisory to the Northern Gulf Islands and Sunshine Coast, with a bulletin from the agency saying smoke will be heaviest on eastern Vancouver Island, Texada Island, and Powell River on the Sunshine Coast. In a video posted by the service late Wednesday, fire behavior analyst Ben Bogheen said challenge facing firefighters, in addition to the steep terrain, is an expected shift in wind direction as the cooler weather arrives. Quote, this is going to mean we are going to be turning what was the back of our fire into the head of our fire. There are a lot more fuels available to be pushed by this and then moving up to the north and the northeast. Regardless of the amount of rain we have, because of the drought conditions out here, our fire is going to be digging into these bigger logs or heavier fuels, we call them, and making it harder to actually be extinguished. The service also said crews are working to build a guard on the fire's north flank, put out flames that cross the main road between Port Alberni and Bamfield, and secure firefighters' access to the fire's west flank. The community of Banfield has been without power since shortly after the fire was discovered on Monday, and the main road linking it with Port Alberni remains closed. The Alberni-Cloyacot Regional District said in a separate post on social media that the outage was expected to continue as BC Hydro personnel could not go into the wildfire area until it has been deemed safe. Authorities are asking people who don't live in Bamfield to avoid unnecessary travel to the community, which is a hub for hikers on the West Coast Trail. The BC Wildfire Service said Wednesday that the fire was not threatening the communities of Port Alberni and Bamfield or Yubu. The fire's rapid spread this week set off declarations of states of local emergency by the Alberni-Cloyacot Regional District, the City of Port Alberni, and the Cheshat First Nation. Evacuation orders have been issued around parts of the fire, including for properties on the east side of the Alberni Inlet. Alerts are also in effect for the Cheshat Reserve as properties at the southeast end of Port Alberni, where residents may be asked to evacuate on short notice. The fire is one of about 85 active blazes across British Columbia, with fewer than 10 classified as burning out of control. Police in West Kelowna, an area devastated by wildfires 2 years ago, say they are investigating two separate fires within a few hours of each other and another on Wednesday. RCMP said both fires could be linked to fireworks, as they had a report that people operating a utility task vehicle were seen the night before setting off fireworks in the area. The vehicle has been found and the wildfires have been contained, but police say the investigation is ongoing. And that is our wildfire update for you kids and cubs. And on that subject, because we have been talking to you a lot, kids and cubs, about having um, being prepared in case you have to evacuate a wildfire zone. CBC produced a segment about this that will be rather helpful. And so, because we too like to help kids and cubs, we thought that we would bring that segment to you here for your edification and because Canada's a big country and we know a lot of us know each other. If you happen to know people in those areas and they haven't seen this, this is information that you would also be able to relay to them. So have Kids Cubs from the CBC, how to prepare in case you have to evacuate a fire zone.
Canadian wildfires have been bad this year, really bad. In Saskatchewan alone, over 26,000 people have been forced to evacuate their communities. Some have ended up far from home with nothing but the clothes on their backs. And while it's never easy to leave home, experts say there are things you can do to prepare.
Have an emergency plan in place, and that's something really to do when there isn't a risk at the time.
That plan should include how long it will take you and your family to get out of your house and what routes you can use to leave your neighborhood. You can pack a family emergency kit ahead of time with things like medication, non-perishable food, and enough water to last a few days.
The key is to personalize it to your family and your household and to make sure that that is ready to go. It's close to a door. It's something easy to grab.
You should also make sure your car is fueled, serviced, and ready to go. Park it facing the road.
The last thing you want to have is a flat tire because of improper maintenance when you're in a life or death situation.
You can also fire smart your property. Clear away dead branches, firewood, and propane tanks. Especially if you live in a high-risk area like the boreal forest. You shouldn't have anything that can help start a fire within 10 meters of your home. But the number one thing that experts want you to do is leave when authorities say so.
I know a lot of people don't want to leave. They want to make sure that they save their homes. It really is risking lives.
Katie Swires, CBC News, Regina.
Okay, kids and cubs, and also remember, also if you have mulch, you want to have it a certain distance from the actual structure, and of course, do not be boating in areas where water skimmers are coming to collect water. Do not fly drones to get some really sweet clips for your socials, and do not go into the woods or drive your ATVs where there are bans for doing that. Let's not create additional situations for emergency response teams to have to handle. One more bit of a wildfire update for the province of Nova Scotia. This was issued yesterday. There was a wildfire update for West Dalhousie, Annapolis County. Two West Dalhousie fires, and this was yesterday, are still out of control. Evacuation on West Dalhousie Road due to Long Lake fire estimated at 30 hectares. 30 Department of Natural Resources crew assigned this morning. So this is from yesterday. Hoyt Lake fire estimated at 1 hectare. 7 Department of Natural Resources firefighters on the scene. And then the Department of Natural Resources and 2 contracted helicopters are working on both fires. Crews are putting dozer guards around West Dalhousie Community Center and 2 communication towers. And I believe that people Not sure if they've been asked to evacuate or to prepare for that. So I'm just going to take yes. An evacuation order was indeed for some in the Annapolis Valley, Halifax. In the Annapolis Valley, the Halifax blaze is considered contained. But by Kevin Nielsen here at Global News says that some residents of Annapolis Valley, Nova Scotia, have been ordered to evacuate by Annapolis Regional Emergency Management Operations due to an out-of-control fire in West Dalhousie. On Thursday, the agency said people living on West Dalhousie Road near Godfrey Lake have been asked to leave due to the Long Lake fire, which was caused by a lightning strike on Wednesday night. In an update just before 1 p.m., the Department of Natural Resources says that 42 homes have been evacuated as the fire is about 3 kilometers away. The blaze has grown to about 300 hectares in size. The fire in the Annapolis Valley had grown rapidly overnight because the flames reached the top of trees, a phenomenon known as crowning. The whole tree is burning as the flame front is advancing, said Scott Tingley, the Natural Resources Department's manager of forest protection. It poses additional challenges in terms of fire suppression. There is also a second out-of-control wildfire in the area near Hoyt Lake, estimated at 1 hectare in size, and the Department of Public Works issued an evacuation order for Hoyt Lake at around 10:20 a.m. Across the province, 130 wildfires have broken out this season amid drought-like conditions, with 6 of the 9 current fires reported since Wednesday. Asked if fixed-wing water bombers had been brought in to douse flames, Tingley said there were none available. Nova Scotia does not have its own fleet of water bombers, which means it relies on other provinces like New Brunswick and Quebec. Nova Scotia, however, did have access to 4 helicopters that can sling large buckets of water. Quote, we are doing our best to coordinate regionally and nationally to see what is available, but there's a number of provinces with very challenging situations, Tingley told a virtual briefing. Meanwhile, Halifax Regional Municipality says that a wildfire on the western outskirts of Halifax that had prompted evacuations of businesses is now being held. It's about 15 hectares in size. There was a mandatory evacuation of businesses on Chain Lake Drive due to the fire near Suzie Lake, but that has been lifted. On another front, an official said that this fire season has been much different than the one in 2023, which saw the province suffer through an unprecedented series of wildfires that scorched 25,000 hectares of land, destroyed more than 200 homes, and forced about 20,000 people to evacuate. Jim Rudderham, Director of Forest Protection, said that the 2023 fires happened in May and June when conditions were not that dry. Those fields are incredibly dry now. All of them, he said. Even large tree stumps, large logs, everything is extremely dry. Spring fires are fast-burning fires that don't burn usually deep, but the fuels are so hot and dry now that these fires will burn deep and all available fuels will burn. Rudderham said the province needs a deep drenching from rainfall. Quote, we would take any drop of moisture we could get, but we need protracted days of steady rain, he said, adding that the forecast doesn't look good. In Halifax, where the ground is particularly dry, the forecast was calling for about 5 millimeters of rain on Thursday night and about 10 millimeters on Sunday night. Open fires are banned across Nova Scotia, and violations come with a $25,000 fine. The province has also banned hiking, fishing, and using vehicles in the woods, as well as any camping outside of designated campsites. Anyone caught breaking the rules will face the same $25,000 punishment. 12 people have been fined since last week, Premier Tim Houston told reporters. Quote, it's certainly my hope that every single one of those is fully prosecuted and collected. It's just too serious of a situation right now, said the Premier. And that is now all the wildfire news I have for you in terms of updates. Globally, overall, there are calls for the federal government to change the response. We talked a little bit about this yesterday in terms of lessons learned. There's the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs, President Ken McMullen, wants a national fire administration, which would be a federal agency to organize municipal firefighting resources. He's quoted as saying, we need that coordinating body at the federal level to work on the coordination, the response, the training, and the equipment needed in order to most effectively put those resources around our provinces and territories. The Federal Emergency Management Minister, Eleanor Olszewski, says it's definitely under consideration. Yolanda Clapworthy, who is the interim director of the Mitigating Wildfire Initiative, says that suppression is critical. Canada needs to be more proactive than reactive, from where homes are built to how communities are protected to how forests are managed. She's quoted as saying, spending upfront on mitigation and prevention actually is an enabling factor that amplifies response as well as on the ground and makes it easier for firefighters and frontline folks to be able to anchor in and action a fire to protect communities. Um, Robert Gray, who's a wildland fire ecologist, says that having a year-round firefighting force could pay dividends. He says, quote, that would enable us to bend the curve on the amount of areas burning. If we don't do more mitigation work, then we are constantly chasing fires. And he is preaching that we lean more in, sorry, not he, but Glenn McGillivray from the Institute for Catastrophic Loss Reduction is suggesting that we lean more into Indigenous expertise and knowledge, stating, quote, they have millennia-long knowledge in the use of fire and in the use of controlled burning and cultural burning. Maybe a federal ground force could be made up of Indigenous peoples. They say that real tangible changes might be hard to achieve given how big the country is, but Canada needs to start thinking differently about wildfires. Quote, the idea that we're going to be able to knock down a fire and keep it down across the country is kind of a pipe dream, which is how Glenn McGillivray finished his intervention on this. And of course, we notice that this has been an issue discussed at Prime Minister meetings between Prime Minister and the premiers, and that there seems to be some enthusiasm for it within those ranks. So hopefully we'll be hearing more about these types of initiatives relatively soon. Because yes, as we mentioned, if this is going to become a regular thing for us, then we probably need to have more coordinated responses and systems in place to know where all these things are at any given time, so that we can be much more effective and much more nimble in how we respond. All right, kids and cubs. Also, before we go, mentioned it in the description, but we won't get into it too much here. Just, we are running out of time. But Monday will be voting day in the Battle River-Crowfoot with regard to the by-election that is there. Pierre is attempting to secure a seat. Again, because he was fanjoyed out of he basically got fired from his job. And of course, deserves that, believes that he deserves a redo. So we are all paying about $2 million in order for him to run for a seat that did have somebody elected with a clear mandate and a clear result. But that wasn't good enough for Pierre. So, yeah. Polls are open from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time, so that means results won't come in until about 10:30 p.m. I hopefully will be doing a live returns show for that one, and if everything goes well, we might have access to a feed and Bonnie Critchley's campaign headquarters, which could be interesting there. Of course, ballot results could be delayed further because of the write-in ballots that are being used there. But yes, that by-election will happen. Pierre, if you've been noticing over the past few days and weeks, has been making a lot of policy pronouncements that are somewhat of a mess. And I'd like to focus on one particularly here that happened. And this was presented by Greg McEachern. With a bit of a biting comment stating, this is why your staff shouldn't announce a tone change for someone who won't change. And Pierre, being his usual snarky self, decided that he was going to comment on things going on here. And basically, we have to understand here that Pierre is offering nothing but a running negative commentary about everything Canada and everything Carney. He's gone back to his old ways, so there's no change in tone here. But he posted this little thing here that's going on. And this is a of bullshit. Since master negotiator Mark Carney took office, so again, master negotiator throwing in some snide and some snark there. And then he's got these big X's. He's twice missed his own deadline for Canada-US deal. The US has doubled existing tariffs and added new ones while giving Mexico and China extensions. China has hit us with new 75% tariffs on canola seed. Carney has backed down to Trump on the digital sales tax and counter tariffs, getting nothing in return. Mexico has snubbed Canadian ministers who flew down to grovel for a bilateral deal. Europe has agreed to buy $750 billion in U.S. energy and $0 of it Canadian energy. The ugly truth, Carney is losing abroad and Canadians are paying the price at home. Okay, that is total bullshit. Not a single word of that is true in the manner in which he is presenting it, at least. Not at all true. If Trump is looking for someone on the inside to break up national unity, this to be hitting the government from the inside to do his dirty work for him from the inside, he's got a very willing participant in Pierre, who I have to say, if he's willing to go all over the place here on these policy pronouncements and make a hot mess of stuff, and a lot of these are inconsistent even among each other, he must be concerned that his result in Battle River-Crowfoot is not going to be as good as he needs, and therefore he is basically bathing in red meat. But let's go through some of his claims here. Master negotiator Mark Carney. Master Mark Carney never presented himself as a master negotiator. He has presented himself as someone that has a lot of experience with negotiating and therefore might be better placed than Pierre to do the job. All right. He's twice missed his own deadline for a Canada-US deal. Those weren't actually his deadlines. They actually weren't. Trump, they had agreed something at the G7. Trump blew past it. Carney tried to apply some pressure with a July 21st, I think it was, deadline that Trump blew past by announcing he was going to do stuff on August 1st. And then August 1st came along. And then, he still doesn't have his 90 deals and 90 days. And the deals that he says that he has are not actually deals. And a lot of the nations with whom he says he has the deals do not have the same impression of those deals. So, these are Mark Carney has not unilaterally set the deadlines and then decided he is not going to meet them. All of Pierre's commentary, you have to understand, is detached from a reality in which other players are making decisions that can change the way that the pieces are set on the chessboard. It's only Mark Carney. Only Mark Carney makes promises. Only Mark Carney makes deadlines. Only Mark Carney has all the power in the world to determine whether or not it gets done. And if it doesn't get done, it's only because of things that Mark Carney did. There's nobody else in the entire world and no other situations going on in the entire world that are influencing this. It all exists in a vacuum and it can all be attributed to one man. That's what he needs you to believe is reality in order for what he is saying to stick. The U.S. has doubled existing tariffs and added new ones while giving Mexico and China extensions. Yes, U.S. has doubled certain tariffs and has added new ones, and China and Mexico have been given extensions, indeed. But the U.S. has done that to pretty much everyone. They've raised tariffs and doubled tariffs on different parts for pretty much everyone. We're not special. We haven't been singled out for special treatment here. Mexico doesn't have as much trade with the United States as we do, and doesn't have as much leverage as we do. And the different treatment is a deliberate divide and conquer strategy from Trump to see if there's a party within Canada that will help Trump do his job of dividing it. And Pierre has clearly decided here that he wants to help, as I mentioned earlier. And the United States, can't afford to take on China. Back to school is coming, and 94% of their textiles and shoes come from China, and pretty much every bit of electronics has components. So, Yeah, right. If you're trying to pretend that it is other nations that are paying these tariffs, you probably don't want to provoke China even more, just as we are entering back to school season, right? So again, I'm not sure what Pierre is expecting here. China has hit us with new 75% tariffs on canola seed, but it's his party that puts China in a position to do that, thanks to having signed away a portion of our sovereignty to a communist nation for 31 years with the FIPA. And Pierre did not object then. Now, did he? Carney has backed down to Trump on the digital sales tax and counter tariffs, getting nothing in return. The conservatives never supported the digital sales tax, so not sure why he's bringing it up. And earlier he had complained because Mexico had a better deal, but Mexico didn't put on counter tariffs like we did. So I'm confused. Does Pierre want us to counter tariff or not counter tariff? Because he's simultaneously criticizing both moves in this post, almost like he doesn't know what he believes. Mexico got an exemption. We shouldn't have counter tariffed. Oh my God, he's going to raise the counter. He's going to take away the counter tariffs. I guess it's elbows down. Which one, Pierre? That's the problem with responding to everything in a vacuum to win the current nanosecond, is when you start putting them together, the positions don't make sense and you don't know where anybody stands. Mexico snubbed Canadian ministers who flew down to grovel for a bilateral deal. Okay, that literally did not happen. There was no stub. The Canadian ministers met with the president herself and other high officials. There was no intent to grovel. We've shown you clips. What the purpose of that meeting was. Nobody said we were going there to grovel. And nobody said that we were going there to negotiate a bilateral trade deal with Mexico. There was never any question of that being on the agenda. What happened is that a journalist asked a question of the president of Mexico as to whether or not Canada and Mexico were seeking a bilateral deal between them two in order to circumvent the United States. And she said it was not necessary because we have CUSMA. That's not a snub. And that's not a rejection of a request of Canada coming over to try to negotiate a bilateral trade deal. According to Global News, quote, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum on Wednesday ruled out a bilateral trade agreement with Canada when asked about the possibility, following what she called a very good meeting with top Canadian government ministers a day earlier. We have the trade deal with the United States, Canada, and Mexico. There is no need, Sheinbaum said during her morning press conference, where she said she discussed expanding direct trade with Canada. Does that sound like a snub? Does that sound like Canadians went down to grovel? And does that sound like anybody was seeking for a bilateral deal? Of course not. Pierre's just making things up. He's just literally pulling stuff out of his ass, twisting it, put his own color on it, and then putting it out there. Europe has agreed to buy $750 billion in U.S. energy and $0 of it Canadian energy. God. No such agreement exists. None. It's not a thing at all. At all. I do not know where he gets this. Max Fawcett had something absolutely fantastic in reaction to this, making it absolutely clear. And I wish I could find it off the top of my head. I should have bookmarked that one because I think it was Brian Jean from the UCP who is making this type of comment as well. So, as you know, the Conservatives get their talking point for the day a couple of days ago. It was all canodal all the time, even though Conservatives have never shown any particular interest in wanting to resolve that issue in any way, shape, or form. But now they care about it. You know, it's a little weird there. But yeah, that Pierre is still pretending that number one, and Brian Jean is still pretending, number one, that we would have the resources and the ability to supply all of that at the moment, even if we could. But that this deal is exactly as Trump said it is, when it is not at all. And you had Brian Jean making a similar concept saying here, but Canada is still not fully committed to fresh pipeline and LNG infrastructure, and it's holding the country back at the worst time. No, it isn't. As TC Energy is investing in the US, Canada is sitting idle, missing out on big economic opportunities. The US EU trade deal signed in July 2025 is a perfect example. It promises American LNG exports to Europe of $250 billion annually for the next 3 years. That's a huge missed opportunity for Canada, especially on the Atlantic coast, where former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau repeatedly said LNG exports were not viable. His stance culminated in Canada losing contracts to countries like Qatar, while American companies cashed in on the demand generated by Russia's 22 invasion of Ukraine. Let us also point out here that Canada is currently shipping LNG to Asian markets from the West Coast, and the United States has no capacity to do that. So we are actually currently cornering markets that the United States doesn't have access to, but they keep on forgetting that. And that pipeline did come about as a result of Trudeau, and it's clearly not a missed opportunity. So Max Fawcett says, this is a tedious and tired argument that has been debunked repeatedly, but sure, I'll do it one more time. There are two reasons why this argument doesn't hold up to scrutiny: time and money. Let's start with time. Even if a proponent surfaced and started the process of proposing and then building an LNG terminal on the East Coast fed with Alberta gas, it still wouldn't be operational. LNG Canada submitted its application to the Harper-era NEB in 2012, and it got the necessary approvals in 2015. Took 3 years for the Conservatives to give the approvals. It took few more years for the proponents to decide to continue after global LNG prices collapsed and the project's economics deteriorated. Their decision to proceed required almost $1 billion in duty waivers and subsidies from the Liberal government. Not the Conservative government, the Liberal government. COVID obviously slowed things down, but building pipelines through northern BC is an inherently challenging endeavor, far more so than building pipelines and export infrastructure within Texas and along its highly industrialized Gulf Coast. In 2025, LNG started shipping cargoes. It will almost certainly sanction a second phase, which will mean more cargoes heading to Asia. That's good news. It's also an object lesson. Now, on to money. It's just very, very expensive to build a new pipe connecting Alberta gas to a maritime export terminal. Repsol understood this. Any East Coast project is competing with gas shipped from Texas to Texas or gas extracted from offshore deposits in Qatar and liquefied almost on the spot. We can pretend there's still a viable business case here, but the facts seem to pretty clearly suggest otherwise. And of course, there's the uncomfortable reality that gas demand in Europe is going to decline significantly in the 2030s, something that further undermines any business case for expensive East Coast LNG exports in Canada. And according to Ember, let's see, when was that? On the 17th of June, 2025, it says EU gas demand said to drop by 7% by 2030, making new gas investments risky. It says here, EU gas demand is expected to fall by 7% by 2030, according to a new report from global energy think tank Ember. These findings suggest that any new gas capacity will become stranded assets. Ember's analysis of EU member states' national plans show that EU gas demand is set to fall from 326 billion cubic meters in 2023 to 302 billion cubic meters in 2030, a 7% drop. This extends a trend already in progress, with gas demand dropping 19% between 2021 and 2023 from 404 billion cubic meters to 326. So it's already in decline, and it's planned to decline more. And basically, what is happening here is that conservatives are basically asking us to rush quickly to make an attempt to catch a falling knife, which is something you should never, ever, ever do. Max continues, we can, should, and will export more LNG from the west coast of Canada, but those advocating for endless exports of every commodity from every coast aren't being serious, and the facts always show it. Rest assured, I'll be here with them. Thank you so much, Max, for bringing the facts. So, yes, this thing that Pierre is saying, "Oh my God, Europe has agreed to buy these stuff, and and none of it from us." Well, yeah, because the deal was with the United States. Why would they agree to buy from us in a deal that they're making with the United States as well? But again, we've since found out as well is that the EU itself did not have authority uh, to say that yes, indeed, that this is a decision that would have to be ratified and voted on and whatnot and supported by various nations. So this is not a deal yet. There is no such agreement. And in the end, the ugly truth, Carney is losing abroad and Canadians are paying the price at home. The actual ugly truth, this man can't tell the truth about anything. And this is yet another unserious comment from an unserious man who's just too lazy to do the work. Because it's really easy to say, oh, 2 ministers went down, and then say, oh my God, they were snubbed. They went for this reason that nobody ever said that they went, and they didn't get it. Oh, they're so terrible. It requires no work. You don't have to do any research. You just pull that out of your ass. But if he actually took like 3 minutes and Googled something, he sees some more articles on Global, like I found, with the president of Mexico saying that they had a very good meeting. And not only was the meeting very good, but the meeting has set the table for a direct meeting between President Sheinbaum and the Prime Minister Mark Carney. So if we had been snubbed and rejected, why would there be a higher level meeting being the result of this one? He literally just makes shit up. And here's the thing that's confusing with Pierre's positions on all of this, right? We talked about it with Mexico in that sense, right? Oh my God, Mexico got an extension. We didn't. Such a terrible thing. Well, Mexico did different things than we did as well. Mexico didn't counter tariff. We did. So now we have some leverage to negotiate away off the negotiating table. I guess Pierre did not want us to go into this negotiation with leverage. Is that the conclusion we should take? When Pierre talks about canola, well, the reason that China has imposed those canola sanctions is because at then President Joe Biden's request, we slapped a 100% tariff on EV vehicles from China. Pretty much the only way that the tariff on canola is going to go away is if we do something about those EV tariffs. And this is not something new. China's done this before to other nations. They did this on barley to Australia a few years ago. And Australia filed all the petitions and whatnot. And it took 3 years for it to work its way through the system. So this is something that China has done before, and it's probably not going to remove the pressure. And China also slapped tariffs on us. We remember when we were detaining Meng Wanzhou, and the conservatives were also asking us to roll over there and allow China to impose its law on us in order to get a quick relief from those sanctions. So conservatives like the quick fix, and they're willing to sacrifice pretty much anything to get it so that they can point to something the next day and say, hey, see, look what we did, and win the nanosecond. But look at what they sacrifice, right? We're tied for 31 years with a communist country. They say they hate communism, but they tied us to 31 years, surrendering a bit of our sovereignty to them in order to say, hey, look, we got a trade deal, and get a couple of days of good press. So conservatives have a long established track record of selling out the nation for a quick win, giving away too much and caving quickly. But Pierre is not saying outright, remove the tariffs on EVs from China, because that would be very unpopular, because he's supposed to be being tough on China, right? Because he's got that whole thing going on with the BC Ferries thing, right? That business development bank, or that business investment bank, gave BC $1 billion in loans to be able to buy those ferries. Well, he doesn't like that because China's bad. But and he also wants to scrap the EV mandates completely on Canadian cars, claiming that it's going to be that when they come into effect, I think it'll be like in 2030 or something, so several years from now, that it's going to be an effective ban on gas cars. He's basically telling everyone without outright directly saying that, like, as soon as that thing comes in, the government's going to come for your gas or diesel car and you won't be able to use it anymore. It's like as if everybody's going to have to give up the cars that they already have, and that there won't be a used car market that persists beyond that. Right? Just lying. But here's the thing is if we remove our EV mandates totally, but then have to remove the tariffs off EVs from China in order to get those canola counter tariffs lifted, then we open up our domestic market to EVs from China that sell from about one third to one half of the price of EVs made in North America, therefore sacrificing in the process a huge chunk of domestic market share for domestic made product. And there's no longer a mandate for it. So if Pierre actually wants a solution to all these things, it would require us doing something that would make it harder for our own auto industry to be able to corner a share of the domestic market. But Pierre's not saying that part out loud because that would make him look like a dumbass that doesn't think things through and do research. Some guy who's too lazy to do the work. Someone who's too lazy to have a consistent to ensure that all of his positions are consistent with one another and make an actual whole that can be understood and that's logical. And Danielle Smith is doing the same thing on EV mandates. And very interestingly, both Pierre and Danielle Smith have absolutely no suggestions as to how we can get those canola tariffs lifted, only that somebody must do something, which is very, very interesting for both of them, since both of them seem to always have some very helpful suggestions with how that can be done when it comes to pipelines. You got to kill this law, you got to kill this law, and you got to remove this thing, and you have to kill that. They have so many helpful suggestions as to how Canada could get that done. But when it comes to removing the canola tariffs, somebody needs to do something. They don't seem to know how. They just don't want to say it because what they're asking for would require us to make more room for China in our market. While simultaneously Pierre is pretending to be tough on China by asking that ferries contract be canceled, while at the same time not having any helpful suggestions to offer as to how the province of British Columbia and Premier Eby could secure the same amount of ferries to do the same amount of work that will need to be done by the same date that the provider in China that he is looking to retain can do that, because regardless of what Pierre has to say about where the money is coming from or who's financing it to get those ferries built or who's building it, those ferries are indeed needed by that date, one way or the other, or else it's going to have a pretty bad impact on the economy of BC. So again, in order to win a moment now, and pretending that he's tough on China, even though his policies would actually open up our EV market to China and decimate our own industry's ability to grab a significant share of market here domestically. Yes, he is also coming up with a policy proposal that would hurt British Columbia and has no suggestions as to how the source issue, the issue of actually having ferry service that is reliable and dependable and in sufficient amount to meet the needs of British Columbians, how that would be handled and taken care of. It makes no sense. It makes no sense This is not a serious man. These are not serious pronouncements. And when you put them all together, it looks like a man who really wants to decimate the Canadian economy so that it could be hollowed out even faster. But these things sound really good on a campaign trail. Yeah, we're going to stick it to them Chinas. Oh yeah, and that terrible EV mandate where they're going to come for your car and take it away from you, take away your right to drive a gas car or use your diesel equipment. Oh my God, yeah. That industrial carbon tax and all that kind of stuff. Got to take that down. Just that sells in an anti-government area. But if you actually applied it, it would be devastating. Devastating. So yeah, I'm reading this and I'm thinking to myself, if he needs to be all over the place like this, so messy, making statements in such a manner that shows that he does not know what he believes or what he stands for, and that he's willing to say everything and their opposite in the same breath. But all of it for the base of the base to make them feel good and happy gives me the impression that he doesn't think that he's going to get at least 70% of the vote. He's definitely not getting 83, but that he might come in under 70. And if that does happen, our boy is going to have a lot of problems. Big ones. In fact, if I remember correctly, Theo Moudakis, who I love, I just love that man. Maybe I should try to get him on the show at some point. Has a wonderful cartoon explaining or illustrating, I should say, what it is that Pierre is facing. And I have it right here for you, kids and cubs. Love Theo's sentence. It's a 2-frame panel cartoon where Pierre Polyev is in a tracksuit at a track meet and running over a hurdle, very happily clearing the hurdle, and says by-election hurdle. And then it says leadership review hurdle, and it's a hurdle that's about as high as a high jump bar. And then Pierre looking at it and going, oh my God. Ooh. And that pretty much describes the situation here. So Monday for me is him hopefully losing his job, but if that does not happen, emerging from that so damaged. And with all of these policy pronouncements on the record that he's going to have to defend at some point, whereas he's trying to walk away from them or pretend he's never said them. Oh, that's only something I was saying then to win that riding. I have to think national now. Because that's Pierre. Shifty little bugger. He is. And then I saw this while I was looking for the Pierre thing. Theo Moudakis really nailed it today with the Trump and Putin. So I'm going to show it because this is perfect. It's basically Trump and Putin sitting in the chairs side by side like they do when they have these types of meetings. Trump with the American flag behind his chair and Putin with the Russian flag behind his. Putin with his hands clasped with a very contented smile, and Donald Trump very, very happy, except Putin is a full-sized human male in the picture, and Trump is sitting in a booster seat that is placed on top of the chair. And it's very, 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 very tiny compared to Putin. And yeah, that's pretty much the dynamic going into it. Again, Moudakis really just nails it. And one final one, since we are talking about Pierre, and this one specifically about him here. Uh, Theomedakis reveals his bias, at least as a cartoonist, as to who it is he would to win. So there's two people walking down the street past a museum or an institutional type building with lots of columns that says the Cartoonist Association of Canada. And there are three banners of PP on the columns, and one says save PP, one says we love PP, say yes to PP. And one of the women's talking to the other says, well, Polyab still has the backing of some major players. The cartoonists don't want to lose their content. They're guaranteed rich well of content. Please don't fire PP. It will make our job so much harder. Love it. Kids and cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We went a little long, but we had good stuff. So there you go. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do, especially when you add some words of yours to it. Yes, because you are influencers in your own circle, kits and cubs. And when you share stuff with a word of your own, well, that is advertising that we cannot buy at all. And we appreciate your help in doing that, kits and cubs. And thank you so much. Now, kits and cubs, if you are busy on the go and you would like us to help you stay abreast of what's going on in the world, well, hey, we can help because thanks to the generous contribution of the Ray Girl, we have something called Podpage. Podpage.com/the truenortheagerbeaver. If you put a hyphen between each one of those words, that's the website at which you can find it, or you can scan that QR code that has just appeared on the screen. And when you go there and click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, our ears only version podcast, audio cast, comes directly to your podcast feed. And therefore, if you're busy and can't watch with us, you can pop us in your ears and take us with you because we're portable. We make it easy. So thank you for subscribing to our pod page to make sure that you do not miss an episode. Now, kits and cubs, if you would like us to help you, well, hey, we can definitely do that. Sorry, if you want to help us, I should say, we could definitely use your help. I got it all mixed up. Kits, Cassie, and Elaine are beckoning you to take a trip to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where 21,000 of you have so far. Yes, we are still growing, and we're very happy to see that. Also, by the way, a shout out to all the people who are on our Twitter platform, as well as we've crossed 4,500 followers there as well. So another milestone. Thank you so much. Lots of milestones recently, and I think we crossed 650,000 views on our YouTube page as well. So lots of growth in lots of places, all thanks to the best DAMFAM in all podcasting. And we are very, very pleased about that. But yes, please take a trip to our YouTube page and then click our buttons like, share, and subscribe. It helps us with the algorithm when you do, and it makes us very happy as well. So it's a 2-for-1. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like to help us in other ways, we do incur some costs in bringing the show to you, and we would definitely appreciate, and we could use your help in covering those. So if you happen to have a couple of extra dollars to spare during these challenging times and would like to direct them to a good cause, the Beaver Lodge over here could definitely use your help. That QR code that has just appeared will bring you to our coffee page. And if you are listening, that's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And we would appreciate very much an enthusiastic expression of encouragement from you for the work that we do, especially if it resonates you and you see some resonates with you and you see some value in it. Contribution to the Your Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund does the job of keeping your favorite beaver moist. And as Kit Saucy says, a moist beaver is always a very happy beaver, and I can attest. I'm always happier when I'm moist. Well, I'm not always happier when I'm moist. When it's 36 degrees outside and I'm all sweaty. I'm moist. I'm just not particularly happy. But but for the most part, a moist beaver is a very happy beaver. So if you would like to do your part, we would be definitely grateful. And we thank you for all of your support. Now, kids and cubs, if you're not able to support us financially, please know that the gifts of your participation and attention are the ones that mean the most to us, and we love to hear from you. So please, please, please write to us. We really enjoy it when you do. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address. So just click a little make the keyboard sing and let us know what you think of the show, good, bad, or ugly. We do appreciate constructive criticism. Just be gentle. Or if you have some suggestions for guests you would like to see on the show, we definitely love to hear from you. It makes us so happy when we see something in our inbox from you. It's like ooh, it's like a little Christmas present coming at all different times of the year, and so it gets us happy when we get to hear from you. Now, that same email address, Kids and Cubs, is where you can send a direct donation to us if you want to support us and still buy Canadian. A direct bank to bank transfer makes it such that the US CE tech bros that operate the other platforms like PayPal and that type of stuff, and even YouTube, through which your donations go through, do not get to take a cut. And that's helps with the Buy Canadian, but it also helps us because it means that we get 100% of your donation rather than a portion of it. So truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address if you would like to send us a donation via bank transfer. Kids and Cubs, if you would like to communicate with us via our socials, you can definitely do that at True Eager, at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, and also on the Jitter. We like to hear from you there. True North Eager Beaver on Facebook, which is our original home. And if you happen to be listening on our YouTube page, right down here in the comment section, whether you're listening live with the DAMFAM or at your own time, please leave a comment. We read absolutely everything you send us, even though we are not able to respond to everything. And please know, kids and cubs, that all your contributions, be it monetary or be it in word, all go back into the show to make it better and to make it better for you, because we want you to have a good time here. We want you to be entertained. We want you to feel like you're home with family, but we also want you to leave informed and engaged and enthusiastic about being informed and engaged. So hopefully we manage to do that. And we thank you for joining us regularly to do that. Kids and Cubs, because democracy is something that you do, well, get ready to vote in that by-election, Battle River-Crowfoot, on Monday. Very, very important. And of course, if you are in Manitoba, there is a provincial by-election as well on the books. I think for August 26th is the date, if I remember correctly. And that's in a place that is called Spruce something, and I need to remember it off the top of my head. Spruce Woods. It's not Spruce Grove, but Spruce Woods. So August 26th, I get to know what your candidates are there and volunteer in all the ways that we usually recommend. That is very helpful for democracy. And finally, if you do live in Alberta, Elections Alberta has approved a referendum question on Alberta remaining part of Canada, but now organizers must collect just under 294,000 signatures, but really more, in order to thwart Danielle Smith's any planned attempts that she has at trying to invalidate some signatures. So to move the question to an actual ballot, so please go to www.forevercanadian.ca And there you can pledge to make a donation. You can pledge to sign the petition. You can pledge to volunteer. I'm not sure if you can donate directly yet, but you can also sign up to be approved as a canvasser. And again, lots of events going on all across the province, gaining signatures. Everything is very good. And they also got some good news yesterday, because it seems that the question that the Alberta Prosperity Project wants to ask and put on the ballot, that it does indeed need to be reviewed by a judge, and that a judge is indeed going to do that to make sure that the question is constitutional. As we keep on saying on the show, right, all of Alberta is covered, is unceded treaty territory, and therefore removing Alberta out of Canada might be unconstitutional, given what those treaties obligate us to do. And if that's the case, then if a judge rules that, then would mean that that type of question would never be a legitimate question to put on a ballot for citizens' initiative. Danielle Smith and Mickey Amory, the alleged justice minister, really objected to that review needing to be done, and actually made a loud public call for the judge to change their mind on that, which is direct interference in a legal matter. But again, that appears to be a rule that only Liberals are supposed to follow if you're a Conservative, and that they can violate 3 weeks from Sunday, trying to influence judges or telling judges how they should be doing their jobs. Instead, in which cases they should be looking at. So it seems that that review is indeed going to go ahead, and that there will be a decision. So that is a win for the good guys. So if you are in Alberta, let that be fuel, and let's help Mr. Lukasik and his entire team at forevercanadian.ca do what is needed to be done, so we can put this Alberta separatism issue to bed permanently for a very, very good and long time. Kids and Cubs, words of wisdom. I have some personal news yesterday. I went to play tennis, Kids and Cubs, my 6th time, I think, on the court since my broken foot. And despite the fact that I didn't have as much sleep that I wanted, which could make concentration difficult, especially when you're playing a game that's fast, I was behind most of the game. I was behind 3-1, not most of the match, sorry. I was behind 3-1 and then tied it up at 3-3, and then fell behind 5-3, then tied it up at 5, and then fell behind 6-5, tied it up at 6, fell behind 7-6, tied it up at 7. And we play a pro set to 8. And when I finally got to 7, I was tired of clawing back, and only to then lose and fall behind again. So I don't know what I did, but I found some extra reserves, and found a little extra strength and pace with which to hit a ball. I also had 2 absolute fantastic digs across from the side, hard cross-court shots that bounced in the near court, going diagonally out, after 2 really big swings at it that hadn't been working for me all match, but started working for me right at the last moment in the last 2 games. And I took the last 2 games and won 9-7. So I've actually won a tennis match, even though I'm still recovering from a broken foot, and against a player I have played before, who we are about to even capacity, but who has gotten much better since I last played him. Oh my God, he kept on catching me going the wrong way over and over and over again, until I kindly figured out what he was doing, and stopped putting myself in that position. And then I was able to start clawing back in a manner that was a little more meaningful. But I won, Kits and Cubs. So I had just decided yesterday that I was going to win no matter what, and was not going to let my concentration be pulled, and just give it everything I got. And it actually worked. So that inspires my words of wisdom for you today, Kits and Cubs. If you're doing something today, and you might think that it doesn't have a lot of chance of being successful, or it might be an exercise in futility, go at it with your maximum concentration and all of your focus and determination to come out with a win. And you never know, you might just get one passed at the very, very last minute. Worked for me yesterday. Could work for you. Okay, kids and cubs, could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now it's time for the audience participation segment of the show, which I love so much. So, kids and cubs, at the count of 3, if you would be so kind and generous, and I have no reason to suspect that you will not, if you could, please say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on 1, 2, 3. Ooh, lovely. Ah, with some tinge of Akajan in there and some banging of the pots in the background. I heard you making your own little tetamar today. Well, here we go. Your queen loves to serve. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. I was looking through the chat here and I see this from Kit Hyper T007. I remember having an Acadian teacher in high school. He was totally incomprehensible even to French immersion students. I know exactly what that feeling is like. I had a friend that lived on a Petit de Gras, Ile Madame, in Nova Scotia, and I went to visit him 1 year for March break when I was in high school, and I got there and met his parents for the first time. His father, lovely. His brother, lovely. I was able to understand them to a certain extent. And his mother, lovely, gorgeous, wonderful, kind person, did not understand a word she said to me the entire week. I simply smiled, nodded, and laughed whenever she did. And I got through the week that way, but I could not understand. Listen, she was delightful. She was loving. She fed me like nobody's business. But I did not understand nearly an entire word she said the entire time I was there. So I empathize. I understand that feeling very, very well. Before we go, kids and cubs, and a little bit of news of Canadians that make us proud. This is from CBC, but the World Championships in track and field are coming up in Tokyo just a month away. But there's a warm-up event happening here at which indoor shot put world champion Sarah Milton will be a contender with a strong contingent of sprinters. A team of 30 Canadians will be at the North American, Central American, and Caribbean Championships in Bahamas from Friday through Sunday. For some athletes, it will serve as a tune-up for the world champions. For others, it's a final chance to hit the automatic qualifying standard or to improve their spot in the world rankings, which is another way to get access to the worlds. The Canadian squad includes 17 Olympians and 19 athletes who have competed at world championships before. Heading the group is Mitten, who took a silver at the 2023 Outdoor Worlds before capturing back-to-back indoor world titles. And sprinters Jerome Blake, Aaron Brown, and Brendan Rodney, all of them on the 4x100 gold relay team in Paris, alongside Andre de Grasse. Brown and Rodney will both run in the 200 meters at the event in the Bahamas, while Blake does the 100. Blake clocked a 9.97 in June for the fastest time by a Canadian this year. Both Blake and de Grasse, who clocked a 9.98, are the only Canadians who have achieved the men's World Championship qualifying time of 10 seconds flat. Blake and Brown have met the 200-meter standard of 2016, while de Grasse will likely get in by the way of his world ranking. And the men's 4x100 team qualified in May at the World Athletics Relays, where they took the bronze behind South Africa and the United States. On the women's side, Audrey Leduc will compete in both the 100 meter and 200 meters at the event in Bahamas after winning both titles at the Canadian Championships in Ottawa earlier this month. In the 100 meter, she'll face Sadie McCreath, who matched Leduc's natural record in June before Leduc reclaimed it with a 10.94 last month in Edmonton. Leduc and McCreath, whose time comes in at 10.95, have already qualified for the 100 meters at the World Championships with their times. The bar for women is 11.07. Leduc needs a 22.57 in the 200 meter for an automatic spot. She ran 22.55 at the National Championships, but with an illegal tailwind, so that did not meet the standard. Her current world ranking, though, looks good enough to get her in. Other Canadian Olympians competing in the Bahamas would include men's hammer thrower Rowan Hamilton, who was 9th in Paris last year, and middle distance runners Charles Philibert Thiboteau and Lucia Stafford, who both ran the 1,500 meters in Paris. And wishing good luck to all of them as they get ready for the World Championships. And yesterday we talked about Felix Auger-Aliassime playing at the Cincinnati Open against world number one Yannick Sinner. Yannick Sinner showed why he's the world number one. I think he defeated Auger-Aliassime 6-0, 6-2. And Auger-Aliassime is no slouch. He's top 30 in the world, top 25 in the world even, I think. So just shows the gap between number 1 and 25 when someone is as good as Sinner is. But probably learned a lot from the match, and will improve as a result. But yes, so the only Canadian left in the tournament is Gabriela Dabrowski in doubles, who has advanced to the semifinals there. All right, kids and cubs, that's all I got for you. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you again on Monday, potentially with a pre-record, and hopefully with Mr. Grizzly, where we will focus a little bit on the by-election for Battle River-Crowfoot and other things that Pierre and the Conservatives have putting out in the window in order to make themselves more attractive and appealing, and failing miserably at it. All right, I am off, and we will see you very soon.